Hi, Singy here from the Sanctum of the Soul, and welcome back to another unboxing and review video. I've actually done this video twice already, once on the actual unboxing and a second time where I revisited it because I didn't think I did the deck justice the first time round, and somehow both the videos have vanished from my iPhone. So I'm filming this on my Samsung this time, and hopefully nothing terrible happens. I'm gonna shift this a bit because I think it's, yeah, there we go. Okay, so without further ado, here we go. So after, I guess, a bit over a year of working with this deck, or maybe it's closer to 2 years now, you can see the box has been kind of dinged up because I dropped a phone on it or something. I don't remember. They do call this the Adventurous Tarot deck, but I have seen people, screeching about it online that it's not a tarot deck. It really isn't. It's more of an oracle deck. Well, keep in mind that this is the first, or as far as I know, the first D&D kind of inspired deck. So it is geared towards being able to be used in a D&D kind of setting. So it's not necessarily for divination, so just keep that in mind. But I have figured out a way of kind of using it, and it is quite interesting. It is one of my go-to decks now for when I am looking for things like archetypes and context and like people involved kind of energy readings. Then this is a favorite deck of mine now. So I have reconstructed the deck back, and you'll see what I mean in a while. So this is the first deck produced by Weird Works, I think. And if you haven't already, I have just released the review video for the second deck, which is the Eldritch Overlord deck. So that is a tarot deck, and I find that they work really well together. So here we go. Right, so this, right off the bat, this is a massive deck. The box itself is just really gorgeous. It's got all these gold embossing, is that what you call it? Gold filled? My brain isn't working right now, so it's gold stamped, I think. Heat stamped? Hot stamped? Yeah, anyway. So it does come with a really basic guidebook. You do get the kind of like upright and reversed meanings. You do kind of get a little bit of that. So I have reconstructed the deck because there are some I guess a lot of repeats in the deck, so that's why the deck is this thick. It is, after all, meant to be used in a D&D game kind of context, so we'll get to it right away. So the first card here is the Bard, and you'll see immediately that for the first few cards there are alternative arts, so you can pick which one you want. So because I have I had a deck that I had constructed from all these, and I just basically put everything back into the original stack. This is a good chance for me to pick which cards I want as well. So the Bard here, you will see, for those of you who are familiar with D&D, this is probably not going to be new to you. The Bard is, of course, one of the staples in a lot of these role-playing games. And you'll see that it's new experiences, beginning of something new, and if it's reversed, it's the start of something. Oh, it's telling you to start something new. So it, in terms of reading, this is a pretty good deck, despite the fact that it doesn't seem to be geared very well towards divination purposes. So for this card, I think I like this one better. So this is going into my reading deck, and that's going into the well, the spare deck, I suppose. Oh, right. So the cards themselves are really nice. They are this matte feel, and you have this really nice gold stamping. The sides are not gilded, but they are a really smooth finish. You won't feel like you're about to be paper cut. Um, the cardstock is really thick. It is basically the same cardstock as the Eldritch Overload. So that's that. So we have the Ranger this time, and I am a fan of this card, so that's going into my deck. And the Monk, I think I like the contrast on this one a little better, so I'll take that card. I feel like I'm just going to rebuild the deck and it's just going to be the exact same deck. The Fighter, I think I like this one. We have the Cleric. Ooh, that's difficult to pick. I think generally I prefer the cards to have a little bit more contrast, so that's going into my deck. And next up, so because of the setup, I'm literally on like a coffee table, so I am having a little bit of issues with how to position myself in a way that doesn't strain my back. So that's why you'll hear me shift around a bit. The Rogue, I think I like this one better as well. The Barbarian, this one has a really old style of like comic book kind of art. This is a hard one. I think I might prefer this card actually. This is the one that's always been in my deck, but so I think I'll just switch up the energy a bit. The Druid. Oof. So I'm gonna go with actually, because the Druid has always been a bit more nature energy to me, I'm gonna pick the one with the more green magic. The Wizard. So we do see the moon, we don't have the exact moon phases, sort of. Like we don't see the full moon here or the new moon. But we do get like some symbolism. I don't think, I personally don't really look at the symbolism in the card itself, for this deck. The Paladin, yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. It's definitely this one. The Warlock. So you can recognize that a lot of these are archetypes. And of course, the guidebook is sufficient to basically show you what each of them are. Like the Warlock, bind yourself to a mentor or a loved one who empowers you. And the Sorcerer would be to leverage your innate talent, and it's slightly different. We have the Wizard here as well. Be resourceful and your magic will be greater than the sum of its parts. Still pretty good readings. It's not quite on the tarot level, but it is still pretty good as a reading deck. I like the galaxy art on this one, but I also like the fiery energy of this one. In terms of the binding, I think this would be closer to like maybe a devil card. I think I'm going to go with this one. You know what? I prefer that one. The Sorcerer. So one thing that I didn't do at the start when I first did the constructing of the deck was to look at the meanings first. So we have the creative energy, watch your soul burn bright, and I think that meaning, if it's easier for you, you could pick which one reminds you of the meaning more, and that is this card to me. Okay, so the Adversary, There are way more adversaries here than you'll ever need in your life. So we have the adversary cards. So I think this could be good in terms of context readings. Um, for me, I have been just using the first one, just like a single adversary card. But I think if you wanted to ascribe meanings to the numbers, like if you wanted to be like, you know, the numerological meanings, or if you wanted it to be some other kind of meaning, like numerical meaning, maybe like there will be two obstacles to overcome, you can. To me, I don't see a point in that personally, but yeah, it's really up to you how you want to use this deck. And is there only one mystic card? Oh no, there are two. Okay, so we've got the mystic. I think I like this one more. We have the blood hunter. I think to me, this one would engage that energy a bit better. The artificer, basically the person that makes stuff. I think I like this one more. Reminds me of more of like a forge. We have the ally. So the other ally to me would be like a bright light. So we have the dark, and you know what? I think I'm going to keep both of these. So one good way I just thought of this would be, because this is the sun and this is the moon, it would be like the ally is out someone you already know or someone you don't actually know yet. So I think I'm going to keep both in the deck itself. We have the companion, these. So to me, I would prefer this one, but again, I might consider keeping them both in there, for the same reason. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep them both in there. And we have the familiar cards. So I love both of these cards, and I just really love it. I remember having a hard time choosing. I think this card's slightly more worn, so this is the one I went with. Yeah, I think I still like this one slightly better, but I think I'm gonna try this one. Yeah, nah, this is still more comforting to. No, I'm feeling the energy of that one. I'm gonna keep that one. Okay, and we have the beasts here. We have 4 beasts. So I personally think this is the most gorgeous of them, but because I only want one beast in there, I have not much choice but to pick this one, because I don't want to be, especially when you're reading for clients, I don't really want anyone to be like, what's the 2 mean? What's the 3 mean? They don't mean anything, it's just the way the deck. I mean, I haven't personally ascribed meaning to them, but of course, if you want to, you can. So here we are at the basically like the suit cards. We have the dragons, and that's 4 of them as well. So for all of these, I just kept the base card, just because of that numerical sequence thing. So we have the undead card as well. So the undead, of course, can refer to things that are coming back to haunt you. I personally really like this card. I think it's fabulous. But of course, this is fine as well. And I particularly like this card because of how shiny it is here. I like these. You know what? I actually like them all. This is the coolest one to me, I think. But I will stick with that card. And we have got the ooze. So the ooze here, I personally like this one the most. And I know some people will be interested in knowing what the ooze means, so here we go. The ooze. There we go. So it changes shape to fit any situation, embrace your intuition. So basically, it is quite intuitive in terms of what the meanings are. We've got the aberration here, which is what is holding you back from your evolution? Are you clinging to old beliefs? And here we go. You will see why that makes sense. So the aberration here, of course, we've got the huge brain connected to a stem. Yeah, so this is like what is holding you back, you know? You can transcend the waters that you are residing in. Okay, and we have got the plant. So we have 4 of the plants here. I really like the scattering of the spores here, even though that's, you know, for a card called the plant, it's really mainly mushrooms. Uh, so I'm keeping this one, but I really like this card as well. So the plants, of course, um, mean hard work and responsibility will yield a beautiful bounty. Yeah, basically, slow and steady wins the race. So the next one is interesting. These are the elemental cards. So for these ones, I kept all 4 of them in there because they are relevant after all. So we've got the fire, we've got the air, and if you look at it, this is the elemental symbol. So this is the symbol for fire, an upright triangle. This is an upright triangle with a line through it, so that's air, and then that's water, and that's earth. So I keep all 4 of these in there. They can provide pretty good information or context. So this is where I feel that the guidebook kind of falls short. We have to reflect positively upon what you have achieved, be open, blah. To me, that doesn't really, I don't really agree with that. To me, it's more of a contextual thing where, what is it that you are concerned with in this, or what's the arching kind of overarching energy through it? Is it a monetary concern that might be an elemental earth, or is it an emotional thing, or is it like a passion thing? So all of that really gives quite a bit of context if you chance upon it. We have here the constructs. So constructs to me has always been like, what is it that you're holding on to that might not actually be real? It could be your shadow self. It could be, you know, things that you want to work through. According to this, it says use your inner power and courage to assert yourself, to find your boundaries. So this is encouraging you to create a construct. So either way, I don't really agree with or rather, I don't read based on that meaning because I prefer to use my own meaning. But I can see where that guidebook is also quite valid. Um, as you can tell in these 2 years, I haven't actually touched the guidebook that much. So this is the Fae. So the Fae, I kept all 4 as well. As you can see, these are the seasons. So we have this is probably spring, and that's autumn. Yeah, that's summer, and we have winter here. So all of these are going in as well. They can provide kind of context of what part of a cycle you're in. For example, if you get the autumn card, it could be that you are nearing the end but you're not quite there yet. Of course, you can ascribe different meanings to it as well. It doesn't have to be temporal. According to the guidebook, which I do not know what it says. Okay, so it says the seasons change, and so will you. Shed negative beliefs and the fears that hold you back. All right. That's an okay meaning, but because I'm doing all four of them in there, I don't think that meaning really sticks that well. It could be, of course, a push to kind of move on into the next cycle. So we have the celestial. So these are amazing. I absolutely love this one, which is lucky because that's the one that's going into the deck. So to me, the celestial would be something like guidance, for example. It could be someone um, providing some kind of aid. It could also, depending on the context of the question, be something like embrace your inner power, your inner guidance. So let's see what the guidebook says. Okay, so the guidebook says success and power, okay, radiate from you and draw others to your warm presence. Ah, okay. So basically, it's about like sovereignty and being a leader, which makes sense, I suppose. So the humanoids here. We've got the 4 humanoids. This is my favorite humanoid, to be honest. So humanoid is of course something that's not quite human. It's more of a construct. So I'm trying to remember what the guidebook says. To me, the humanoid has always been something like logic. It's imagine like a computer program. It's creating something based on logic and you know practicality. So I actually really like the black and white one because that's the most logical to me. It feels like it would be more binary in terms of like a computer script. I don't know, it just feels that way. But let's see what the guidebook says. The undead. No, that's not the one. Ah, there we go. Cut through the nonsense to get to the heart of the matter. A logical approach garners respect. Yeah, so there we go. So that's basically the same meaning as what I ascribed to it. This is still my favorite card, but the 4 that really throws it off. So I'm going to stick with just that one. Which is a shame. I think that's my only gripe, that they felt the need to, they felt compelled to have the numbering in front. If they didn't have that, I would be so happy to like literally interchangeable kind of 4 cards. So we have the Fiend here. So to me, the Fiend has always been like temptation, perhaps something like an addiction that you want to get through. So we have the 4 different colors as well. This is an interesting color to me. This feels like a more toxic kind of addiction. This feels more like an emotional reliance. This could be something like lust or something that's not that I'm not sure what the, basically not grounded. It's something that's not grounded. It's more of like a spur of the moment kind of thing. And this to me has always been a more like egoistic kind of temptation. So I keep all 4 in the deck. I'm not sure what does the guidebook say? Let's see. The Fiend, lost to addiction or negative thoughts. Yeah, basically temptation. To me, it's like the devil card in tarot. Okay, and we have got the giants here. So these are the 4 giants. So I keep this one because honestly, this is my least favorite card of the entire deck. It's just not doing it for me. So the giant card is one of the ones that don't really come up. Um, it hasn't really come up in readings a lot. And to me, it's always been like the giant doesn't actually seem unfriendly. It seems like the giant is watching over them, but not quite a part of them. So it feels to me like giving someone something, like you're watching over someone and you're giving them something, but you're not, your own needs are not really quite met. So that's always been my interpretation, but let's see what the guidebook says. You're resilient but sensitive. Don't neglect your own well-being. Remember that you too can fall. Yeah, basically. So don't be too don't be too noble. What's that word? Self-sacrifice. Self. Yeah, basically, don't sacrifice yourself too much. Don't have that savior complex. Complex. I don't know why I added a T at the end. Okay, and we've got the monstrosity here. So that's clearly Medusa, holding a dagger and like a chalice. So not really one of my favorite cards either. Um, so the monstrosity here. Let's see what the guidebook says actually. So far, a lot of my meanings have been different from the guidebook, which is the monstrosity signifies an event that threatens to destroy your life unless you view her through a different lens. Okay, that's basically the same as what I do. I wouldn't say destroy your life. To me, it's always been something like if there's an event that seems to be freezing you in your tracks, or if there's inertia or lethargy. And this card comes out, I'll be like, can you look at it in a different angle, so that it doesn't quite have that kind of petrifying hold on you. So it is slightly different from the meaning here. So here it's more destructive, which makes sense because they don't really have a destructive card in the deck itself. So we have the Wild Oracle here. So 2 Wild Oracles. This is the last card. It's not the last card. It is. You'll see why in a moment. So archetype cards. You can see that this is more like light magic, and that's more dark magic. And interestingly, you see that victory defeat card, which is exactly the card back here. So you know that this is a kind of a significant card. It's more like a wild card. Could be like the Void or like the Joker card in certain decks. So I personally have always been using this one, but now that I look at it, I'm looking at the light and the dark. So Wild Oracle, I'm very particular about the word wild. Here to me it symbolizes like chaos. It's like you kind of try to predict where a certain event is going or a certain path is taking place, but because of the wildness, the intrinsic chaos of the universe, you can't really do that to any kind of like 100% confidence. So to me, this could be an indication that either you are going with the flow or you're not going with the flow, or if you're, so I think I'm going to keep both cards in the deck itself. I think that would be great. Let's see what the guidebook says about the Wild Oracle. Your destiny is in the hands of the universe. Learn to be flexible and accept what fate has to offer. So it's more like a letting go thing. You're not actually predicting anything. That makes sense as well. I think in certain contexts that could possibly work, but I'll probably not be using that interpretation. So these are the unique cards. So if you're familiar with D&D, you'll know that there is always like a game master. They call it a dungeon master. But here we have the dungeon mistress instead. So this is the person who's closest to you in terms of the wider universe of a D&D game. So here we have the designer and the developer. So of course those are further back on the hierarchy. They are higher on the hierarchy because they created it, right? But the dungeon mistress is who you interact with. So to me that would be a more of a more direct kind of guidance to me. It's some guidance that might be literally a living person. So it could be like, for example, if someone's going into a new job and they're asking for what to look out for, and this card comes out, it could literally mean that there is much to learn, or anything to do with whoever you're learning with, or whoever's your direct boss, for example. So that's my interpretation of the dungeon mistress. We have the designer here and the developer. So to me, the designer is more of if you're thinking of like the Holy Trinity, the designer would be someone who has the idea, the one in charge of the ideation, of whatever it is that you're trying to create. But the developer is the one who actually manifests that the ideas that the designer comes up with, and of course that is translated into something relatable to us through the dungeon mistress. So that to me is my personal kind of headcanon on what these are. So we'll look at that. So here the dungeon mistress is the creator of infinite worlds. Tap into your creative powers and blah. Judgment. So if it's reverse, it's telling you to basically you are a god now and be a good god, basically. So we don't have the we do have it. So the designer here is complement, criticism. The developer is analysis and escapism. Huh. Okay, so I'm probably not going to base my readings off that. I don't particularly see, or it's a little bit difficult for me to relate to that meaning. So here I would most likely be more of direct guidance, ideation, and manifestation. To me, that would be what I would read them as. And you don't have to agree with me. You can agree with the guidebook. Oh, I mean, it is a really open-ended deck. There are literally no keywords on any of the cards, so you can create your own universe, your own meaning, and I think that's the beauty of the deck. Like, it's so open to interpretation. Yeah, and you can pick and choose which cards you want, which cards you want to include, which cards you don't want to include. I mean, you could literally include the entire deck in there, and you can have multiple undeads, you can have multiple oozes. You can ascribe meanings to the numbers, like 2 means you have 2 choices, 3 means there might be conflict, things like that. You can. So the deck actually shuffles really well, and as you can see, this is the deck I'm going to be working with out of all of those, and this is the reject pile. So this goes at the bottom of the deck. I'm basically literally using less than half of the deck, and that goes at the bottom. So I always put this face down so it doesn't mess up the order. And this to me has always been the divider of the deck, which is possibly why I never really read it. Yeah, so shuffling wise, this is really smooth. I have absolutely nothing but love for this, and of course do a proper shuffle because there are reversals here. There we go. Okay, jumping cards. So I'm just going to do a generic read. Is that the only one? No. You know what? I'm just going to treat it as, because the deck hasn't been shuffled properly enough, and those cards were meant to be together in the first place, in order. So I wouldn't really count that. Okay, so general reading, the familiar, the companion. Wow. Okay, is there another card here? I'm trying to figure out if there is another card in there, but I feel like there might be, but gosh, there we go. Yeah, we'll take that one. Oh, it's a reversed elemental. Okay, so we have the familiar and the companion and a, oh god, I know what this is about. Okay, so basically one of my rescue birds, one of the pigeons has been really ill, and it's been this, I think, the third day now. I've been doing a lot of energy healing and administering things like vitamins and like stuff for gut motility and stuff like that. She is looking better. She looked a lot better last night. Still has to be hand fed. She couldn't really, get the dry food down, so I hand fed some barley and some apple cider vinegar, cider. Um, yeah. So I think that would be what the familiar card refers to. And then we have the companion card here. So I have actually had a sneaking suspicion that because we recently rescued another squab, and I had a sneaking suspicion that we didn't quite quarantine it well enough, and that's what led to like the illness. I'm not really quite sure. And that squab wasn't the healthiest as well. I mean, one of I'm not sure what sex it is, so one of its legs is just twisted. It's probably from the fall, or I don't know what happened to it, but it's way too late to be fixing it. Um, and we have the reversed winter. No, not winter, water. So, um, we are still very much in danger of losing them. I'm pretty sure they're out of danger now, but we're not quite sure. And we have lost birds this way before, to like sauerkraut and things like that. But I mean, luckily I am able to recognize it now. But back then it was really different because we were so inexperienced. So let's see if I can do another. Okay, the ranger. Okay, so I think we're out of danger right now. The ranger to me has always been someone who is good at not just watching over things, but also as a kind of keeper, kind of leader over other creatures. So here I think we're in the clear for now. Seems like they will be recovering. And of course the reversed water is saying, emotional stuff. Maybe there isn't a need to be that emotional about things. Not that we're that emotional. I mean, the worry is there. Yeah, I think this is a pretty optimistic reading. And just to give an idea of reading with the sister deck. So this is what the Eldritch Overload deck looks like, and you can see that the card stock is exactly the same. Exactly the same, and the card size is exactly the same as well. So if you're doing a spread, or if you're doing, compound reads, this is a good pairing to do. This one has less to do with the D&D and more to do with like cyberpunk. But I think it's a good match. And of course the card backs are quite a good contrast as well. So I personally haven't read with both these decks together, because the energy doesn't feel as similar as I would like, but I can also see how it would complement quite well, because we have the very cyberpunk kind of tarot reading, and then we have the more archetypal readings here. But long story short, though, this deck does complement most decks. If you want the context, if you're not sure of what a situation is like, this is a great deck for that. So I think that will do for this deck. It is available. I will link in the description below. I do have one deck that I am offering on my website. That well, at the time of recording, there is one deck. I'm not sure if it's going to be there for long. Yeah, so that's it for today's unboxing. Thank you for watching, and I'm sorry it's been so, like, it's such a long-winded video, but this is one deck that I have been using quite a bit, and I really wanted to do it justice. So thank you. This is Singy from the Sanctum of the Soul, and we'll see you in the next video. See ya!